Okay, November 2nd, 2013, believe it or not. I really don't know if this is working or not. I'm mic'd up. I've got this doohickey down here, and it's running up through here, so there's a microphone right here. I'm doing this because that camera kind of sucks as far as the microphone goes. I have a couple of topics in mind that I want to talk about, that I've wanted to talk about for quite a long time, but I've either been unmotivated or haven't really felt like I had anything worthy of taping, enough to put on tape, things like that. But like I said, this is mainly just a microphone test, but I do want to talk about one thing briefly, just in case it works. Let me put this remote up. What I want to talk about is ego, and what I mean by ego is ego regarding a cue, which cue I use, how people perceive me or any player by the cue that they use. I'm going to step off camera for a second here and just grab a couple of my cues. Now this is me not even on screen, but hopefully talking through the microphone. So hopefully you can hear me. If not, this is going to be a big giant waste of time. So, first things first, this is my Sean. I've had this for, over 20 years. Love this cue. Love the way this cue looks. And I've shot really well with this cue in the past. I think if I had a choice, this is the cue that I would shoot with after all these years. I just love this cue. I love the way this cue looks. Now, because I didn't want to take that one around all the time, leave it in my car when I was at work, I bought this one. This is the Hoppy style Sean. Again, I love the way this cue looks. I actually use the same shaft on this one and my other Sean, the same shaft. So it plays exactly the same, except that this one is very light. Even after having a couple of ounces added to it, it's still very light. It doesn't play as well. I gave this cue about 3 solid months of playing nothing but it, and I did have some days where I shot really well, and some days where I just didn't. It just didn't go very well at all. Next, we're going to have this Joss. Now, this was definitely an impulse purchase. This has got the new 314-2 style shaft. Again, I love the way this cue looks. It's nice and simple. It's a little bit, it got a little bit of a fat ass, but I guess I've gotten used to it. The wrap is really slippery, or at least it was when I first bought it. It's gotten better. It has a soft tip on it. I had a soft tip put on it, and I want to talk about that for a second. But first I want to go get what is actually my main cue. Step off camera for a second. And that's this damn thing. This is my Predator Sneaky Pete. My least favorite cue as far as looks go. This is electrical tape. This isn't even a black joint. It's just a wood-to-wood joint, no joint visible. And I had to put electrical tape on it just to make it look a little bit more like a real cue. This guy still has the old Mori medium from the old days. Also, because it's got a wood-to-wood joint, it's got a softer hit. That's why I put a soft tip on this. It's got a steel joint. These other cues on the table here have steel joints. I put soft tips on all of them, thinking, can I make these other cues, any of these other cues, play like this one? And the answer is that I could not. Now this Joss still has the soft tip. But for my other Predator shafts, I went back to the medium hard tip here just a couple of weeks ago. Definite improvement. Shot a lot better. The ball goes where I think it's going to go for the most part, and that's where we get a little bit different. I shoot so well with this one. I shoot so naturally with this cue. It's almost effortless. The ball goes where I think it's going to go. And then if I'm playing bank pool, a lot of times that means the object ball is going to go where I think it's going to go. I have equal success at times with this cue or with the Hoppy style, but it's not as consistent. And sometimes the ball just seems to take some random direction that I wasn't expecting at all. So great has been my desire to not play with this Predator cue, to find something that looked better to play with all the time, that I've been having little tournaments at home with all of my cues against all my other cues, going, okay, the one that wins, that's the one that's going to, that's going to be my real cue. I'm going to go hang these up here and keep talking for a second here. So I've had one pocket tournaments, I've had bank pool tournaments, I had a little bank pool ring game, just basically doing anything I can to find a cue that will beat that Predator. And that's the funny thing about it, is that Predator, this Predator has not won any of those little tournaments yet. I don't even really remember if it was ever really competitive. I think it might have come, this cue might have came in second in one of the banks tournaments that I had. But I mean, I'm doing little races of 2, races of 3, things like that. But what I found out consistently, no matter what I shoot with, if I come down here and I'm having a bit of an off night, things aren't going as well as they've been going or I expect them to go, I go over to the rack or I go over to the table where this thing is in its case, and I take this out and I shoot with it, and everything is natural. Everything feels so much more natural. So what I'm going to do now, because this is mainly still just a microphone test, is I'm going to just knock some balls around and see if I can explain a little bit about that. You know, maybe I'll even shoot well with the camera roll, and although that's kind of hard to guess that, kind of hard to promise that because it seldom happens. But the thing about this cue, there are two things about this cue. One thing is the cue ball goes where I think it's going to go. Yeah. And the second thing is, if that cue ball goes where I think it's going to go, usually that means the object ball does, the banking ball in most cases, goes where I think it's going to go. Now with those other cues, with those steel jointed cues, especially the steel jointed cues with the harder tips, I can make the things work. I can make it work, but it requires an effort. And it's not, I would like to make that, it's not an effort that I'm enjoying. Pool is not enjoyable when I have to work that hard at it. A lot of times, with this cue, I can get out of line and just find another shot. And I know that the ball is going to go kind of where I think it is. I really would like to have made that one too. You know, I didn't. I'm freaking yammering. That's okay. But the thing is, I wanted to say is, it happens every time. Every time I have a bad evening or a bad session with one of the cues, I can pick up this one and immediately recover it, immediately start shooting well. Now where the ego comes into it is I like to feel like I'm a real pool player. I like other people to think I'm a real pool player. And a real pool player, I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm telling myself a real pool player wouldn't shoot with something like this with black electrical tape around it and all that. I mean, the black electrical tape is a pure ego thing right there. A real pool player should have one of those nice cues that I had. That's what they should shoot with. You know, they're good enough to handle a cue that good. Would have liked to have made that one. But, you know, it's first part of November now. So Derby City Classic is approaching fairly quickly again. This year, I'm actually thinking that I want to play in the one pocket and the banks. Now, I'm under no illusions about how I'm going to do. I try to be, you know, fairly reasonable about things. I have a feeling I can do as well or better as I did last year in the banks. Of course, depending on who you draw and all that. But getting into the money should not be a problem for me in the banks. In the one pocket, again, depending on who I draw, if I win a match, then that's pretty good. For a guy that didn't play one pocket 2 years ago, to win a match, you know, against, hell, just about any of those guys is going to be better at one pocket than me, so, or more experienced than me, let's say. So it's coming up. It's coming up in January. And this is where my ego comes into play again, you know. There's a big part of me doesn't want to go to Derby City Classic with all those pool players with this fucking cue. Even though, with this cue, I stand the best chance of meeting the goals that I set for myself. Now, last year, I shot with my Sean at the Derby City. And I did better than I've ever done before. But I still missed a lot of balls. And I should have won both of the matches that I lost. Even the one against Christian Thiel. He gave me some very good opportunities and I missed them. I don't think I would have missed those shots that I missed if I had this cue, with a cue that felt a lot more natural. And I think maybe I'd still be playing in the damn thing. I might have even made it to Monday. You know, that would be awesome to make it to Monday in that. But I didn't. And I'm faced with the same situation again this year. I got 2 months. Do I want to play solidly, consistently with this cue, which gives me the best chance, or do I want to pick one of those and stick with it, and I guess try to get used to it? And that's the thing is, I don't think I'm going to get used to it in time. Maybe I'll never get used to it. You know, I've had that Sean for a long time, and it has never felt as effortless as this one feels sometimes. That was horrible. So, I guess just to contrast that just a tad, for the first 6 months that I had this Predator, this was what I shot with. I kept it in my car. I went to Stupid Jacks. It took me about 6 months, 3 to 6 months to get used to this cue, to be able to freaking play with it all. I always wished I had my Sean with me. So a part of me tells me that maybe that could go the other way. Maybe I could get used to my Sean again. I just got to give it more time. You know, I had soft tips on my cues since about April. And I played and tried, and I did have some very good days and some very good sessions. But it was never consistent, and something would always happen eventually. Something would happen, and the balls would just start going in random directions and just fucked up shit. So now it's November. I think I waited too long to switch back to the hard tip, medium hard tip, and try to get used to it between now and the end of January, whenever the tournament is. I just switched back to that medium hard tip a couple of weeks ago, and I shot really well against Steve and the Stupid Jacks, and against Chuck and the Stupid Jacks, both Chucks. But I would still have my bad nights. When I come home, I'd still have my bad sessions, and I would still go and pick this up, just like I did 2 nights ago, and immediate improvement. I immediately recovered from the bad evening I was having and immediately improved and immediately started having fun playing again. Now I can have a lot of fun playing with those cues when I'm shooting well. I can have a lot of fun with any cue when I'm shooting well. I have more fun more often with this cue because I shoot well more often with this cue. No matter how much I don't like it, that is just the way it is. So this is what I'm thinking right now. What I'm thinking is that I wish I'd have paid more attention to that ball. No, what I'm thinking is this is the one I need to play with. I don't have time anymore to get good with one of my, better cues, one of my nice looking cues, and still give myself a fair chance at Derby City. So I just need to play with this cue as much as I hate it. I need to play with it because this is what gives me the best chance of meeting my goals. So hopefully, I'm hoping that I will keep this attitude and stick with that goal and stick with this cue. You never know with me. I just still have bad nights with this. I may still have a bad night. Pick up the other cue. Hell, I played a ring game last night, and my Sean actually won. It was my Sean against my Joss against this. And the Sean actually won by like 3 out of 20. It was like 17 to 20 was at the end. The Joss got knocked out completely. And with the Sean, I shot really well, and I had some nice long runs, and this guy just had a hard time catching up, and he never did quite do it. That being said, this felt a lot more natural still. It still felt a lot more natural. I had to work with the Sean. Whoa, that was a horrible shot. That was pretty cool. I really hope this microphone is working because, man, I actually bought this microphone in, I want to say March, and I've never used it. The batteries are pretty close to dead. All right, so now I'm getting mad because I'm like, oh, this is the greatest cue, and I'm dogging it. I can't sleep my way through making balls. I still have to pay attention. I just don't have to pay as much attention. And if I do pay attention to what's happening, then the cue ball goes where it's supposed to go. Usually that means the object ball goes where it's supposed to go on a bank shot. Not every time. That's what was just happening there. One of the things, it's so hard to quantify or define exactly what happens here. It's almost like this cue has more forgiveness in it, more speed forgiveness, more English forgiveness. The metal jointed cues, it seems like a little bit of speed difference translates to a lot of speed difference in the cue ball, and therefore ball. Whereas if I was going to draw a curve or something, it seems like with the metal jointed cues, it is a bit of a curve. It's not a little bit more English, a little bit more speed equals a little more speed on the cue ball. A little bit more on the stick equals a little bit more on the cue ball. It's like a curve. Whereas this cue, it seems to be more linear, straight up and down. That's just a guess. I haven't measured any of this stuff out. All I know is this cue seems more forgiving because I don't think I'm just all of a sudden magically way more consistent with this cue. Yeah, see, now I'm running out of stuff to talk about. So I'll shoot these in, and that'll probably be it for this little sound check test. A little shot like that where I had to put a lot of spin on it. I just put spin on it, and I put the right amount. With the other cues, it's like, well, I guess. Okay, how much spin? And I put some spin on it, and it's not enough. You never really know. With this one, I'm much better at going, okay, let's put some left on this ball. And I didn't make it, but I came close. I'm always going to kind of come close with this cue. Now I'm running out of shit to even shoot over here. And I think that spin thing is the forgiveness of the cue as well. That may be because of the tip and not the not the type of joint on a cue. It just seems that, you know, like I said, all of a sudden I'm not like I'm not more accurate or whatever, but I'm still closer. So maybe this cue is just a little bit more forgiving of my little lapses in speed and aim. This cue is just a little bit better at forgiving those little errors because it's not as touchy as the other cues. I hope this microphone's working. Crap, I haven't even made a movie on with that camera. I probably made a couple since the last one I published, but I published them. I just make sure that it works. I hope it works. Well, it would have been cool to draw back and put that ball in and spot it and run out and be a hero. That would have been pretty cool. I guess that's as good of a note to finish this on as anything. Again, November the 2nd, 2013. I have other things that I want to talk about, but those have to be for a later video. This one is about ego and the ego of what cue I'm using. I mean, on a conscious level, it's so ridiculous. If I had a broomstick with a good tip and I shot better with it than anything else that I own, I should shoot with it. That should be the one I shoot with, rather than some diamond-studded cue that's always on fire and just looks so freaking awesome. Although one on fire would probably hurt, so I wouldn't want that. But this is my least favorite cue as far as looks go, but it's my favorite cue as far as playing with, and I shoot the best with it, so that's the one I should stick with, and I really hope I can stick with it. So we shall see. Maybe my next update I'll say I've thrown that in the fire to resist the temptation of shooting with it. You never know with me. Anyway, I'm going to sign this guy off.